Once again, the weatherman is calling for some wet and wild weather to come in. Let's hope that it happens. Let's hope that we get a flush of fresh water. Let's hope that that fresh water pushes some stripers into the central delta without fooling around with the largemouth bass bite, which has been pretty good. So with that, let's take a look at a few pictures. We'll get right into the report. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly fishing report for November 13th. And I've got a little bit of river business. Let's take care of that, then we'll get right into the report. First thing I want to do is talk about the Christmas crappie shootout. That's going to be up at Clear Lake December 6th. They'll be running out of Clear Lake Oaks. This will be the first of 6 events up there. So if you need any information on that, call Marlon out at Crappie Closet Baits. That's 510-691-0586. And that's the Christmas Crappie Shootout up at Clear Lake, December 6th. We also have the Fairfield Sassoon Bass Reapers, and they are sponsoring the 2025 Lake Berryessa Open Bass Tournament. That's going to be coming up Saturday, November 22nd. If you have any questions on that, you can get a hold of the Bass Reapers at www.bassreapers.org. So check out those 2 tournaments. I'm sure they're going to be great events, and go out and have some fun. With that, I want to make a correction on something that I had a little blunder last week. I talked about our friend and cohort Rob Cloutier out at the Bass Hole. He had a heck of a week. He had back-to-back double-digit fish, one on, I believe, Saturday, one on Monday. And when I posted that report, I loaded up the same picture. This week, I want to once again congratulate Rob on those back-to-back double digits, and I will post both pictures. So there we go. A couple of you guys caught me on that. And I did get a little bit of information. Rob got one of those on a chatterbait. He got the other one on a small crankbait, and he was fishing in about 8 to 10 feet of water. So I guess what I can say, he's not reinventing the wheel. He just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Maybe he knew where those fish were. Maybe he had something going, but I think it's just putting one foot in front of the other, and Rob got lucky, and congratulations to Rob. Last but not least, before we get into the actual reports, I want to highlight a report that I got last week from Ken. And I always try to thank you guys that are sending in the reports weekly. And you guys are some of you guys are over the top, week after week after week. I appreciate these, but Ken this week went way above and beyond, and I'd like to thank Ken for this, and I'd like to read this, and I kind of got a kick out of it when I read the report. I'm seeing more and more salmon being caught in the McCallamy River this last week. Comanche's releasing water, so it should be picking up. I'm getting married this Friday, so I won't be able to get out till Monday to get you more information. Ken, I appreciate that report, but man, I hope you enjoyed your wedding, and don't think you got to get back on the river to send a report, but I mean, that's the dedication, and you got to admire it. Thanks a lot, Ken, and thank you guys once again for sending me in all the reports. So let's get into the actual reports, and let's start with Clear Lake. So we got a report from my buddy Nino Spella out at Clear Lake. And everything's holding steady, and really the big report for, I think, Clear Lake right now is it's not a wait and see. The fishing is still good. They're catching a lot of fish. They're catching good numbers of fish, and the bigger fish are starting to show up. But when we talk about catching big numbers of 1 to 3 pound fish, maybe 4 pound fish at Clear Lake, nobody gets excited. Until you start getting those 30-pound bags, it's kind of like, blah, blah, blah. So number one, the fishing has remained good if you're looking for action and you're looking for just quality fish in the 1 to 3 pound class. Nino did say that some of the bigger fish are starting to show up on the local guys that are throwing wake baits and bigger baits, and some A-rigs are starting to catch some bigger fish. But I think what we need to think about with Clear Lake is Nino's reporting that the lake level, the water quality, and the bait supply are excellent. So if history repeats itself from year after year after year, as we get into December, January, February, March, they're looking for Clear Lake to break open like it did last year, and we're going to be seeing a lot of 30-pound plus bags. So what I would suggest, if you're going up there, go up there, have fun now, but really keep your eye open on the next month or two. We'll be getting some more detailed reports. You guys know you can always call Clear Lake Outdoors and get up-to-date information if you're heading out there. I'll put their number up there so you can give them a call when you get up there. So with that, that's the Clear Lake report. We got Don Pedro. I talked to Aaron from Central Valley Bait and Tackle. There was a slight increase on the bite, but nothing crazy. Still getting a lot of fish up there. They're still chasing the bait, the shad. So Aaron says, you know, you can throw just about anything you want, whether it's a paddle tail, crankbait, jerkbait. A-rigs are starting to catch fish. Again, it's kind of in that situation where we know Don Pedro is going to start getting better as the water cools down. They're getting a good mix of smallmouth, or excuse me, a good mix of spots and largemouth. So the average fish that they're getting up there is a pretty decent size, from about 2.5 to maybe 3.5 pounds. Fun fishing, but it's not what it's going to be, I'll say, in a couple weeks to maybe 3 or 4 weeks when we actually get into wintertime conditions up here. So those are the reports from Clear Lake and Don Pedro. Let's jump right into the Delta, and we'll talk about the stripers. The striper bite may be, for the first time this year, I can say we have seen an increase in the central Delta. There are more fish we're going to talk about from the head of the channel out to Prisoner's Point, Old River, Middle River, in that area showing up. There's still smaller fish, that schoolie size. There's still a lot of small fish out here, undersized fish, but there's a lot of fish in that 5 to 6, 7, 8 pounds. I've been talking to Bill, who is the manager out here at Paradise Point. Bill's not a fisherman, but he keeps a good account of what everybody's doing out here. And even Bill's saying, you know, there's more and more guys coming in, guys reporting that they picked up a limit. Maybe they had to work hard for it, but they're picking up limits. 2 or 3 guys go out, they get 5 or 6 fish. But he's also saying it's been spotty because the regulars that he sees out here every day, you know, they'll get a limit one day, and one group came out one day, got a limit. The next day they had 1 fish. So it's still a little bit spotty. You have to work hard for these fish, but they are showing up in the central Delta. One thing that we are seeing is water temperatures are dropping slightly. I've got some reports of 61, 62 degrees. Last week it was closer to 64, 65. Maybe that's kicking these stripers in. Maybe it's pushing them farther into the Delta. Who knows what's going on. But increase in stripers. There is a definite topwater bite going on, especially the last few days. You can see today we got overcast. I've already talked to my buddy Jason Bartlett. This is a fresh fish report. We'll get Jason's report right now. It's about 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. Obviously he was out early. They've already got 1 striper, legal striper. I think he said it was about 22 pounds. 22 pounds, about 22 inches. They've got 5 or 6 bass already, and they're all on topwaters. He's out there with his brother and his nephew, and they're having a great time. So I let him get out and, you know, got a short report from him, let him get out there and fish. But that's Jason's report. And a lot of the guys that are fishing local, right around Paradise Point, going out of King Island, Paradise Point, they're not going far. They're catching fish out here. There is a lot of floating debris out here, and it's making it tough on the trollers. So basically you're going to have to be throwing plugs or maybe drifting live bait. The bluegill out here are still being caught, so it's pretty easy to come out and catch live bait and drift for stripers. I did talk to Jeff Suhu again, And Jeff is just key. He's rolling along. I mean, he is having big numbers with solid size, and all of his partners that he guides with out in the bay, out in Sassoon, San Francisco Bay, they're still killing them out there. And once again, I said, Jeff, what's going on? Where are these fish going to come in? He says, don't worry about it. You know, historically, you know, every year's a little different. These fish are going to be late. He's suspecting that a lot of these fish will keep trickling in. Don't expect, and these are Jeff words, he says, don't expect all these fish to come in one day. They're going to be coming in, some fish are going to be going out, and this is going to happen, and it's going to be good fishing. So that I'm going to say that we all listen to Jeff and keep our hopes up and our expectations up for a very good winter of striper fishing out here. And if you want to call Jeff to book a trip, he's got a 6-pack boat. He's doing live bait fishing now. I believe he's still fishing mudsuckers. And he's fishing from, I'll say, Pittsburgh, Antioch, out to almost Sassoon Bay. He's making some runs out here. He has plenty of openings on weekdays. Weekends are getting filled up, and he's going to continue fishing until he burns out the fish. Jeff's number at Jeff Suhu Sport Fishing is 925-899-4045. And I might also say, Bill, who we talked about here at Paradise Point, has also reported a 15-pound fish come in, and I have got some other reports we'll put up there from guys that have been catching some really quality fish. Now, it's something that you can't depend on, but you know what? Striper fishing is getting better. So with that, let's get into the largemouth. And maybe a side note to the largemouth bass fishing is, a lot of the bass anglers have been reporting catching these great big perch and bluegill. I've been getting pictures, I've been talking to people at the dock. A lot of times they seem to be hitting jerk baits or crank baits. Actually, I was out the other day after I heard a couple of stories, and I picked up one of these just really kind of, I'll say, quality trophy-sized bluegill. So they're out there. So you guys that are fishing from the bank out here, this might be a good time to go out and start targeting panfish. There's some big panfish out there, and they seem to be getting very, very aggressive. So with that, what's going on with the largemouth? I'd have to say it's been pretty darn good. And when I say that, it's good, but it really depends on how hard you want to work to get your fish. When I have been out and I've had a half a day compared to a full day, it can mean all the difference in the world, because so many times I've either started out in the morning, and this is in the last couple weeks, and I've been fishing about 4 to 5 days a week. I'll start out in the morning, and maybe I've got something to do in the afternoon, and I have to get off the water by noon, and I can have just an okay day because I didn't hit the tide or whatever it is. The next day I'll have a full day, or I'll say, you know what, I'm going out in the afternoon to hit that afternoon tide, and it changes the whole day around. When I have been out for a full day of fishing and I've been able to fish through a tide, it's usually pretty darn good, and those are the reports that I'm getting from everyone. There's some dry spells in between, some pretty darn good fishing, and it doesn't matter where you are or the tide you're fishing. You just have to look for moving water, and as long as you're using a confidence bait, and that confidence bait, I'll just throw out a list of baits that you can use. People are catching them on jerk baits, people catching them on worms, people are catching them on crankbaits, paddle tail swim baits, A-rigs, obviously worms and jigs. I've been fishing, I'm going to call what I would call a jig. It's a jig style bait, bronco bug, and I've been doing very well with that. I'm catching fish in 2 to 3 feet of water, pulling up really tight in the toolies, having a lot of fun with a lot of fish in that 2 to 3, 3 1/4. Every now and then I get one that may be pushing 4. I'm not getting any huge fish. Those huge fish that we were seeing a week or two ago, it seems like they were showing up, the 6, 7, and 8 pounders that were showing up in a lot of bags. Those fish haven't been around like they were a couple weeks ago, but there's still a lot of fish out there, and there's a lot of quality fish. And like I said, the tides are crucial. It doesn't matter if it's the start of the tide, the middle of the tide, or the end of the tide. It just has to be moving. The slack tides have been absolutely difficult to find fish. You know, Keith down from Free Spooling, he's been down south. He's doing well. He's saying the same thing. He did report, I think, 61-degree water temps. And, you know, he's fishing out of his kayak and catching 20, 30 fish a day, catching some nice ones. And the variety of baits that Keith said he was catching them on, you know, went from drop shot and worms to jerk baits and topwaters. With that being said, topwater bite with this cloud cover for me yesterday was fun. I didn't get any big fish, but I probably caught a dozen fish on topwaters, and these are all just kind of keeper size fish up to about maybe 1.75 pounds. I didn't mind it because I know in a week or two we're not going to be getting any of these topwater bites. I also remember, or I also want to just go over once again, Jason, who was out this morning, had picked up all of his fish on topwaters. So let's wrap it up with that. We've got to be thankful that we're still catching largemouth out here. The stripers are trickling in. Everything's looking good right now. It's probably going to be a reset week. If we get the rain that we're expecting, that might change things a little bit. This weekend, Saturday and Sunday, if you know, you guys that are working class folks, that those are the days you get to fish. It's not going to shouldn't detour your fishing. We're going to get maybe a light breeze and some showers, but come on out. It should be excellent weather for stripers. I know it's going to be getting tougher and tougher out here. You're going to see the reports start to focus more on maybe stripers, maybe more on Clear Lake, more on Don Pedro, wherever the fishing happens to be perking up. But more than likely, the largemouth bass here on the Delta are going to get a little dormant. So with that, I guess I don't think it's too early to, you know, start reflecting on last year and all the fun we forward to next spring. It's only going to be a few months away. I'm starting early, and I'm kind of dreading what's going to happen here in, you know, starting in mid-December when these water temperatures start dipping down around 50 degrees. So with that, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the river. Be safe and go out and have some fun.